There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing broken or negative about having a mental illness or struggling with your mental health. What's important is understanding that that's just part of who you are. It doesn't make up your sole identity. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm sharing with you 15 journal prompts for mental health. You guys really seem to like these mental health journaling related videos, and I love making them, so I just thought that I would share with you journal prompts that have really helped me when I'm journaling about my mental health. These are a mixture of prompts that I've gotten from my therapist, who is kind of mindfulness focused, as well as just things that I've picked up from Pinterest or just wherever, and I've kind of just compiled this big list for you guys to hopefully help you if you are struggling with kind of certain areas of your mental health. I kind of have a mixture of everything. So if you're kind of feeling anxious, if you're having a bad day, if you're kind of struggling with body image, if you're struggling with something in your past, I've kind of got a little bit of everything. So if you have not already, I do have several other mental health related journaling videos. So if you are interested in those, I'm going to link my Plan With Me /journaling playlist down in the description box. And if you would like to check out 25 ways to fill your journals and notebook, I'm gonna go ahead and pop that up on the screen. That is by far one of my most viewed videos. That'll give you kind of a better idea of other ideas that you can use to fill your journals, but these are all going to be very mental health focused, kind of just positive mindset focused, all that good stuff. So with that being said, if you're not already subscribed, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. I upload videos weekly all about journaling, mental health style videos, vlogs here and there. So if you're interested in that, definitely hit that subscribe button and follow me over on Instagram. I do post polls on my Instagram asking what you guys would like to see next. So if you'd like to hang out with me over on the gram, definitely follow me. But with that being said, let's just jump right in to my 15 prompts for mental health. Okay, so these first couple are really focused on if you're feeling kind of just depressed, if you're feeling very down, maybe you've got the winter blues, anything like that. These will be really good for that. So the first one that I have is to describe 5 times that you are ecstatically happy. And I know sometimes that can sound kind of counterintuitive. When you're really down, you kind of are feeling like, especially if you're going through a period of depression, it can feel very just like there's not really happy left. What I will say is, even if I just write at the top of the page, like describe 5 moments that you were ecstatically happy, I can usually pull something up from the past. Even just writing that kind of prompts, for lack of a better word, prompts your brain to come up with things and kind of see more of the good rather than solely focusing on the negative or maybe what you're overthinking on that's making you have those thoughts. So that's my first one, is to describe a few moments, I usually do 5, where you were ecstatically happy. The next one I have, if you're feeling down, having a rough day, or just feeling those winter blues, is to write down 10 things that you're thankful for. Now, I have talked about gratitude lists so much on my channel already. If you have not already heard me talk about it, I'm sure you can check out any number of my journaling videos, and I probably have mentioned it at least once. But gratitude logs, gratitude lists, even if it's just something as simple as the weather was nice today, I liked cuddling with my dog today. Like, they can be anything. They don't have to be these big grand things that you're thankful for every day. Like, they can be very simple. And that alone, again, will kind of switch your brain from focusing on the negative or focusing on bad things that are happening or whatever it may be, to more of a positive, happier outlook. Now, this next one I would recommend doing when you are in kind of a happier, lighter, better mood, because it's really helpful on those days when you're kind of needing a mental health day and needing something to help you through that. This is really good for that. My next prompt then is to write a letter to yourself. So when times get tough, I want to remember fill in the blank. So this next one is a fun prompt to do if you're kind of feeling a little lost in life, if you're feeling a little just like you're not living up to your potential. I found that this is something that really gets my creativity flowing again. It really gets me excited about things again. If you kind of find yourself feeling just down in a rut, stuck in a funk, this is a really good prompt for that. Just to use your imagination. So even just writing at the top of your paper, like, what if ... And the way that you can use this one is, if you had unlimited time, unlimited resources, unlimited money, unlimited fill in the blank, whatever it is, if you had unlimited resources to do whatever it is that you wanted to do, what would you love to do? I want to preface this by saying, if you're someone that is feeling depressed about your lack of purpose in life, be careful with this one, because it can kind of have the reverse effect. Like,
oh, well, I don't have unlimited resources and time and money.
If you're thinking that way, I totally know how you feel. I've felt the same way. But when I've approached this with, okay, you know, I realize this isn't where I'm at right now, but if this was the case, just kind of using your imagination, using your creativity, channeling your inner child a little bit and approaching it that way can really still help you open up your mind. I think a lot of times when we tend to get in a rut or we're feeling really down and just really stuck in our endless routines and feeling like we're in like this loop of negativity, it can be really hard to imagine that there's other possibilities. So what I like like about this prompt is that it actually does reinforce the idea that there is other options out there. That's my next idea, is to just get your brain thinking, what if? You can actually use this with anything. You can say, you know, if it's something like maybe you're feeling down about your body or you're kind of beating yourself up, like what if I showed myself more love today? What would that look like? What if I had unlimited money to do the things that I wanted to do? What would that look like? What if I forgave the people in my life that I'm angry at or hurt by or fill in the blank? What would that look like? What if I let go of this anxiety? What if I stopped overthinking? What would that look like? What if I appreciated the fact that my depression, my anxiety is part of who I am and that's okay? What if I decided to let go of my past? What would that look like? This is really cool because it kind of gets you thinking like, okay, that's something that I could see. Anything like that really helps you shift to thinking about, oh my gosh, this is, you know, I'm really stressed out about this. I'm really overthinking this. Like this feels like the end of the world, to a place of, well, what if I did this? How would that look? And it's not necessarily saying like, oh my gosh, I have to do this right now, because again, that can also bring in more negativity. This is more so just like curiosity, like what would that look like? Kind of a thing. So this prompt has been super helpful for me, especially when I get into a cycle of overthinking and making myself anxious from my overthinking. This is incredibly helpful. This one is one of my favorites. I've talked about this. I believe this was also mentioned in my 25 ways to fill your journals and notebooks as well, but it's definitely something that I have done since, honestly, the first time I can remember doing this was probably middle school. What I do with it is I write a letter to, kind of a forgiveness letter, a letting go letter. So this can be to anyone that hurt you, anyone that you feel like you didn't get closure with. It doesn't necessarily have to be a relationship. It can be something from your past or anything. And it can even be directed towards a feeling. This is really great, especially if you're someone that tries to stuff away your anxiety or pack up your depression into a little box and try and pretend it's not there. This is a good way to like sit with that. So it can feel kind of funny at first, but you can really write a letter that's just like, dear depression, or dear anxiety, or dear my ex-boyfriend that really hurt me, or dear my best friend that I don't talk to anymore. Like whatever it may be, whoever it may be, whatever feeling. This is really powerful because basically saying everything that you wish you could say to that person or to that feeling without actually saying it to them. And I mean, if you want to send it, I mean, more power to you, but personally, I have written 1,000,001 of these letters and have never sent them. I digress. What this does is, as a journal prompt, writing a forgiveness letter or a letting go letter, this really helps you feel your way through those feelings and start to let them go. It actually is a great way to help you process your emotions, especially, like I said, if you're someone that's really holding everything in and kind of stuffing everything down. This is a really good way to get those emotions flowing, because a lot of times, at least in my personal experience, again, I can't speak for everybody, but I know with me, with my anxiety and depression, it's been something that I've noticed if I try to stuff it down, it ends up coming out in other areas of my life in usually worse ways. So the best way for me to deal with these things with my mental health is to journal about it. But a lot of times I don't really want to feel those emotions because they're not very fun emotions. So writing these letters helps you kind of be kind of that outsider. It's just a different perspective. It's easier to write that way. This one is something that I use, especially if I am beating myself up, if I'm feeling like self-conscious about my body, if I'm feeling self-conscious about just anything relating to like myself, if you're just feeling ashamed or embarrassed or anything about you. Super simple, basically just find one thing that you love about yourself and write about why you love that thing. So this doesn't have to be pages and pages and pages of things, because sometimes, especially if you're really feeling down about yourself, that can be hard to do. So what this is it's just one thing that you really love about yourself. Like if you had to tell somebody, you had to just like announce it to a room, what would be that one thing that you would want people to know that you really enjoy about yourself? Doesn't necessarily have to be physical, doesn't necessarily have to be emotional, whatever one thing is that you really love about yourself and why you love that thing. And again, I've really noticed that this has helped flip my mindset, and it helps me think like, okay, like yeah, maybe I'm feeling a little self-conscious about this thing today, but I still have this thing that I do love about myself, so that's good. And kind of helps you flip the script a little. This next one I call create a character. Now, I got this idea from therapy, and it has truly been the biggest game changer. I even use this when I'm meditating. It's gonna sound a little funny, but it really, really works for me. So basically what you do is you create a character in your mind. mind. Now, this can be a close friend that you know, this can be another version of yourself, this can even be like someone you look up to, a celebrity, like whatever works for you that like doesn't feel super cheesy in your mind. For me, I feel like this is super funny to admit, but that person for me is Taylor Swift. Like I just feel like she would be somebody that would basically be like the best friend that's going to accept you and love you unconditionally and never judge you and something like that. So you want it to be a very positive person or a very positive image of that person. Like obviously I don't know Taylor Swift, but in my head, I feel like that's how she would be. So if you're someone that really beats yourself up, like don't use yourself, like use somebody in your life, or even like I said, somebody that you maybe look up to, a celebrity that you feel like you would feel comfortable opening up to. I swear this is gonna make sense. What you can do with this is you can kind of use it to kind of figure out where your head's at. This is especially helpful when you're struggling with anxiety. So what I do with this is it can even just be like you close your eyes and you just start thinking like, okay, how am I feeling right now? Take a couple deep breaths and kind of bring this person into your mind. What would they say to you? Like what would they say if you basically just like word vomited everything that's going through your head and everything that you're feeling? How would they respond? Would they actually be like beating you up and like tearing you down like you're probably doing in your head, or would they actually speak kindly to you? What I do then in my journal is I really write as if I was writing from their perspective. I will literally write as if I'm like Taylor Swift talking to me. I know this sounds funny, but I swear to you that this works so well, especially as a journaling prompt, because I found when I'm not writing as me, but I'm writing as someone else in my journal to myself, that it's so much more clarifying and I actually open up more. And that's something that my therapist told me as well. Like a lot of times doing this takes us out of ourselves and we get out of our own way and we actually like open up the doors to how we're really feeling, and we're kinder to ourselves and we're giving ourselves some grace and love and care. And that can be so helpful when you're struggling with your mental health, because when you're struggling through that, a lot of that self-care and self-love isn't present. This is a good way to bring that back in. So next, kind of spinning off of that, but it's to create a character out of your mental illness. The best way that I can describe this is like, for me, my depression is this literal shapeless cloud of black, but my anxiety tends to be a really bright, crazy, obnoxious, just glowing thing. What's helpful for me, and I've done this in mindful sessions with my therapist before, by having your mental illness have some type of physical form, whether it's a character or a person or even an animal, like anything like that, it helps you kind of separates it from yourself so you can actually like look at it and see what's there. For me, like when I'm looking at my depression, if I separate it into this physical thing that I see in my head, it's a lot easier for me to say like, okay, it looks like this. Okay, how does it feel? It feels like this. And it's just a very objective way to identify how you're feeling in the moment. And then I write all of that down. So like an example of this, I guess like really personal, but this is like me drawing my black cloud and writing the different feelings that I feel about that black cloud. So that's kind of an example of that. I literally just drew like a squiggly black cloud on my journal and I wrote everything that came to mind. Like, what do I think when I think of this black cloud and how does it feel? That really opens up to shedding more light on how you actually feel about things. And I think that's really important, especially when you're wanting to journal about these things. I really believe that when it comes to mental health, identifying how you're feeling takes a lot of the power away from illness itself, if that makes sense. So this next one is a good one if you're really struggling with things that have gone wrong in the past, or if you're struggling with like, oh, I wish that had never happened. I wish that I could go back and change it. This is a good way to kind of reframe that and put a little bit more of a healthier, positive spin on it. So the journal prompt for this next one is, if I didn't have blank, I never would have learned blank. This is a great way to kind of re-identify with it. If I would have never dated this person, I never would have learned what I don't want in a relationship. These are just random examples. You can fill in the blanks with your own, but just kind of reframing it a little bit. Why did that have to happen to me? To, well, this is what I learned. So this really happened for me and here's what I learned from it. My next journal prompt is, if you're looking to kind of just better yourself, better your life, and better your mental health, this is a great way to do that. List your top 5 best and worst habits. So taking into account the good thing, but also maybe things that you would like to change. And what this does is, rather than just focusing solely on negativity, on the habits you want to change, actually also priding yourself in the things that you do well and that you excel at. So what I do here is, usually I'll just split the page in half, do 5 on one side, 5 on the other, and then under the good habits section, I'll put like maybe my number 1 habit and why I enjoy that I do that habit so often and what it benefits and what it does for me in my life. And then on this side of the 5 habits that do not serve me, so kind of the bad habits or the negative habits, I don't really like identifying things as good or bad, but I'll write something about what it is doing to negatively affect my life and why I would like to change it. This is important is if you do decide to kind of implement a plan to change your bad habit. A little bit of a tangent here, but the way that habits work in our brain is our brain basically lays down railroad tracks to kind of reinforce a habit. So every time something gives us pleasure, it reinforces that neural pathway in our brain. And what happens is when we're trying to change a bad habit, like even though we know it's bad for us, it still is the most comfortable pathway in our brain. So we do tend to still want to go back to that even though we know it's not healthy for us because it's what's comfortable for our brain and it's what our brain is used to. So when you're really trying to change a habit, you have to have a very solid reason of why you're doing it, and your need for change and your want for change has to outweigh staying the same. So it's important to really get down and dirty on like why you want to change those habits. But if you guys are interested in that, I can do a whole other video on what I've learned about habits in the last couple years because I've definitely done a lot of research and learned a lot, but that's kind of the general gist. This again is helpful if you're just looking to kind of like improve your life. My next one is to write a love letter to your body. If you're struggling with body image, if you're feeling really kind of just self-sabotage when it comes to your body, I found that writing a love letter to your body can really help change your mental mindset too. I think a lot of times, at least for me and for friends that I know, body image can really affect how you feel on a day-to-day basis, even if you're not fully aware of it. Writing a love letter to your body, thanking it for all that it does for you, thanking it for how far it's already carried you in your life, even if it hasn't been perfect, can really help, like I said, flip that script in your head to think more positively about yourself. My next one is just a fun one, again, going back to using your imagination and just dreaming a little bit bigger, is to describe your perfect day. What would it look like? Again, I think we tend to get in these cycles and endless loops of just doing the same things over and over and over and not really paying attention to why we're doing them or if that's even something that we want to do. So with this, describing your perfect day kind of just creates a new image in your head. What could my days look like? If I were to just change my life, what would that look like? And it's not necessarily saying like,
oh, my life sucks right now, I wish it was like this.
But it's more so just dreaming bigger and kind of opening your mind to possibilities in your life. And that alone can kind of help you shift to a more positive way of thinking as well. And the last two are just kind of fun ones to, again, just shift your thinking from more of a negative mindset to more of a positive, open-minded, open heart. What do you want to be remembered for? And are you on track with it today? So with this one, I usually, again, will split the page and I'll put on one side, like, what do I want to be remembered for? On the other side, I'll be, what am I doing today to get me there? And if there's not anything on that list, what are 3 things that I can do today, just small things, get me closer to this person that I want to be remembered for? And what this does is it just kind of helps you open up your heart and create a little bit more of an identity for yourself. I think a lot of times, especially when you're struggling with mental illness, it can be easy to wrap that up in your identity and say, well, this is who I am. And it's not who you are, it's just a part of you. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing broken or negative about having a mental illness or struggling with your mental health. What's important is understanding that that's just part of who you are. It doesn't make up your sole identity. So by doing something like this and talking about what you would like to be remembered for or the things you'd like to do, it really helps you create that identity outside of your mental health. And the last one that I have for my mental health journal prompts is to write about 1 to 3 things that I love doing and how I can do more of that. It brings the focus back to doing more of the things that I want to do in my life and less of the things I don't. Now I realize if you're really in a very depressed episode that this can feel very difficult to do. These can even be simple things. These can even be if you're really feeling very down, very depressed, or very anxious. It can be hard to be like, oh my god, I can't think of anything else. And I understand that. This is a cool technique because it actually helps distract you from where your thoughts currently are, which a lot of times can be helpful because I think when we're getting into really intense periods of, oh my gosh, I can't stop feeling like this, what do I do? This can be helpful to kind of just help you distract you until those feelings can kind of settle a little bit and you can revisit them later. So it's a good journal prompt if you kind of feel like the other ones haven't really helped you. That's a good one to just distract yourself a little bit. Those are my 15 journal prompts for mental health. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you're not already, please hit that subscribe button and follow me over on Instagram. I'm actually uploading a bonus video tomorrow because Taylor Swift is coming out with her music video for The Man. So I am going to be uploading another video tomorrow. Be sure to check that out. But I hope you all are having a beautiful week so far and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.